The series was made on assignment for the New Yorker magazine, and this was in August 2017, which was at the height of tension between the United States and North Korea. And that's when the New Yorker decided, okay, we want to make a story about this. And Evan Osnos, the journalist, had been preparing this for quite some time. And then the New Yorker contacted me and asked if I wanted to do the pictures for the story. So yeah, I was immediately up for it. And I was also pleasantly surprised by their reason for choosing me to do the work, which was very much based on the idea that there's a kind of subversive character to the aesthetics that I use also in other work where we work with theatrical lighting, and we're always questioning the authenticity of images or the documentary as a thing in itself. And they thought that by applying that same strategy there, even though we would be very constricted, it would still have some kind of meaning in itself in the images themselves that would say, look, something is being hidden here. You're not really seeing truth, let's say. The visit there was quite unique because usually if you go as a tourist, you're in a bus with 10, 20 people. But in our case, because Evan Osnos, the journalist, had arranged it in such a way, we were really there as journalists, which is different. You get a badge that says you're a journalist in Korean. And it's a very small team. It was just Evan, myself, and Victoria, my wife, who assists me. We went through quite a lot of difficulties, actually, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, we had a great time. When we had to catch our plane from Beijing to Pyongyang, they took away our battery gear for the lights, for the flashlights. So that already put us in quite a situation because, the only reason we were supposed to be there is because we have this very, very original lighting technique, and then we're there on the airplane without any lights. So we managed to solve that afterwards. So I was planning to work with a ring flash, but I always bring small backup flashes and managed to make my own ring flash by duct taping them around my lens. So we were walking around with this very strange camera rig with duct tape sticking out of it and cables and stuff. And actually, that ended up working in our advantage because we looked like amateurs. People were like, they'd never seen anything like it. And I also kind of started behaving like an amateur as well by just photographing couches and ping pong pallets, and as if I didn't really know what I was doing, maybe. But that worked really well because then I could photograph anything. There wouldn't be a distinction between, it would just be, just photographs all day. And maybe one of my favorite pictures on a formal level, aesthetical level, would be it's a picture of the ping pong pallets on a table. And I like that because it's so banal, it's so irrelevant, but it's a beautiful picture because of the colors and the composition, and it's just formally it works very well. But then when you look closely, you see that, for example, one of the ping pong pallets is a bit damaged, it's a bit worn, so it's not so meticulously clean and perfect like you would see in other images where it's all just almost too good to be true. In some of the images, small details creep in where it diverts away from this strict regime. There was a moment where I wanted to take a picture of a building, and I went to stand on a little ledge, like just a ledge about this high, to get a better angle. And the people that were guiding us around kind of got very panicked and ran over and said, you don't stand on the ledge, you're not allowed to do that. And that was a good example of how, when you're walking, even in public space in the street, everybody walks on the sidewalk, nobody walks on the grass, you don't stand on a ledge. So even these small diversions of that routine or strictness, they do creep into these small details. But those were the kind of pictures that I really wanted to make because being in that context of North Korea or Pyongyang, any image that I made was relevant in the sense that they wouldn't reveal anything anyway, right? They wouldn't show anything because it's a very controlled environment. So I thought maybe it would be then interesting to go to totally other extreme and show extremely, enormously useless and banal things. Well, in a way, I never felt so free, too, because I could, like I said before, I could take a picture of anything and it would be relevant. When you know you're constricted and you know this is the only chance you're going to get and this is the only thing you're going to be able to photograph, it actually creates a lot of freedom to just make beautiful images. The title of the series, Red Ink, it comes from Slavoj Žižek, the Slovenian philosopher, who wrote a book called Welcome to the Desert of the Real. And he starts the book with a joke. And the joke is that it's about a worker from the former German Democratic Republic, the DDR, who gets a job in Siberia, so he gets to leave and he gets to go outside. And before he leaves, he knows that all the correspondence, all the letters that he's going to be writing to his family and friends back home is going to be read by the censors and is going to be checked for any kind of illegal information. So they agree to establish a code. Every time a letter is written in blue ink, it's true, and every time it's written in red ink, it's false. So he goes to Siberia and he writes his first letter back home, in which he explains that he arrived well and it's a wonderful, wonderful place. You know, there's an abundance of food. The houses are huge. There are, there's cinemas playing Western movies. There's women up for affairs. And that you can get anything you want except for red ink. So I thought that would be a very interesting way to put it, because basically that's very similar to our experience in North Korea. And I think that's also something that happens with photography in a sense. We all kind of agree that in a way it's true, but at the same time it isn't because of its language, its incapabilities and so on, but we all still kind of agree that it represents reality in a way. The preconception that we have from a outsider's point of view or a Western point of view are very powerful, and they tend to really dominate how you experience a moment. It's the same as being paranoid, I suppose. You think you see things or you experience things in certain ways that may not be true. It's just purely in your mind. It's the power of propaganda, for example. I think people are just around, and Pyongyang is a city where only people that work for the government or have very high positions in society are allowed to be there, allowed to live there. So automatically, those people already behave in a certain way. It's not that they have a little earpiece and are told to walk over there because now, this guy. But it does feel that way, but it's very difficult to pinpoint, how, because it's so strange for us to, we can't conceive how a society like that works. So the only way to deal with that is to project these preconceptions onto it, where so-called everything is, from a puppet master. But I don't know. It looks very natural. It looks very, they're also just people living their daily life. So, who are we to say that they might be there just for us to take that sounds very selfish also in a way.